welcome to the Market Review, where we discuss key developments in the economy as it affects the market. Today, we'll be discussing the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange launch and the opportunities for deepening Nigeria's commodities ecosystem. With me to have this conversation is Mr. Akinsola Akeredolu-Ale. He is the CEO of the LCFE. Nice to have you on the program, and congratulations on the historic launch of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, particularly the Gold Exchange, last week.
Thank you very much, Ottoabasi.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Now, let's first begin with this inauguration. It's a very important one. And to our viewers, it's very important that we enjoy this conversation. But before we move on, let's take a wrap of what happened last week in the markets. The Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange commenced full trading in gold alongside 12 other products in an event that was attended by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. A major highlight of the event was the launching of the Eco Gold coin. Also last week, the Debt Management Office listed the Eurobond $5.25 billion and 250 billion naira 10-year Ijara Sukuk on the FMDQ Securities Exchange. This was also listed same day last week on the Nigeria Exchange Limited. To all our viewers, if you're joining us, it's the Conversation, the Market Review, and today we're looking at the launch of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange and the opportunities for deepening Nigeria's commodities ecosystem. My guest is Mr. Akinsola Akeredolu-Ale. He is the CEO of the LCFE. So I just want to ask first, this inauguration has come with so much enthusiasm, and we saw, of course, the pictures, the videos, a lot of guests attending, including the governor, and it was an exciting development in the Nigerian financial and capital market. So what opportunities are there for investors, and how would this boost the appetite to invest in commodities?
Thank you very much. Apart from the visitors and the goodwill people that came in and the dignitaries that came in, the major thing I was on the floor of the exchange was the gold itself. The gold itself was on the floor of the exchange. And the bullion in large quantities was available physically on the exchange there. And the exciting thing about the bullion that was on the exchange that day is the fact that we were launching gold coins for gold that was mined in Nigeria. It's gold that was mined from Nigeria. And a lot of people were very, very excited to see gold that was mined in Nigeria in form of bullion, tradable on a structured commodities exchange. If not for the process and the requirements and controls in place, a lot of people wanted to touch real gold bullion for the first time in their lives. Some had not seen gold bullion before, in form of gold coins in their life, even some of the dignitaries. So it was a very, very exciting day. And the host to LCFE, that's the state, the executive governor, His Excellency Mr. Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was excited and happy to launch the Eco Gold coins. And he was also very happy to put details to the Eco Gold coin. One side of the gold coin has the Lekki Ikoyi Bridge, which shows the infrastructure and infrastructure aspirations and growth of Lagos State. The other part of the coin shows the three wise men, Arometa, showing the culture and diversity of people in Lagos State and the friendliness of Lagos State to accept people into Lagos State. So the gold coin itself, apart from being an asset class that's tradable, was kind of also history on its back and a representation on it. And it does not remove the real value of the gold itself as an asset class. It was a very, very exciting day for me and everybody.
Yes, very exciting day. Like you said, the first time people will see it, though maybe we couldn't touch it, the gold bullion. I mean, growing up, I used to see these activities in the US and UK, and it's so historic that it's happening in our time in Nigeria. So kudos to the LCFE. But let's see how you support Nigeria's revenue diversification at a time that we're facing fiscal challenges. How will this exchange help to catalyze this?
First of all, yesterday, we had loads of stakeholders that have been put together in the ecosystem that's supposed to support a structured exchange there. Then also, I was happy also that the Lagos State Governor mentioned the impact of gold in any ecosystem as a hedging instrument there. And then with the inflation coming up every time, everybody knows the characteristics and qualities of gold in any
Economy.
ecosystem there. And also, there too, it also shows that gold will create commerce in Lagos State. Now, on the issue of diversification, it was also mentioned yesterday in the speech last week that, look, gold is something that we have on the ground in Nigeria everywhere. So effectively, instead of us running helter-skelter in the ecosystem, we can actually mine our assets in Nigeria and convert it to currency. Gold is the biggest and number one currency in the whole world. It's a currency actually, and it's a commodity at the same time. So anybody that's buying gold is actually buying, it's like using money to buy money. And if you have a very large quantity of gold in Nigeria, it makes it very easy for people to realize that we can actually mine it in Nigeria and diversify our economy. Now, that is just the first leg of the diversification. Gold is just one aspect of what we're going into. Nigeria is blessed with solid metals and various precious metals in every part of Nigeria. And what that means is that by the time we start harvesting these solid metals and solid precious metals in Nigeria from various locations in a structured way, you will discover that we'll start generating diversification to our mono income revenue for now. And that will be done in such a way that people will realize that, okay, so it's possible for me to go to Elisha. It's possible for me to go to Adamawa. It's possible for me to go to Nasarawa. We have lithium, we have platinum. One of these days, very soon, we'll be launching silver.
Wow.
Silver bullion on the exchange. Very soon, very, very soon, we'll be launching silver bullion at the exchange. Very, very soon, we'll be launching a contract for lithium on the exchange after we get the full approvals for them from the Securities and Exchange Commission. So by the time we look at the volume of deposits that we have in different parts of Nigeria, by the time we start mining it, I think it's going to be given for you to understand that we'll be diversifying our revenue generation in Nigeria into so many other parts, whereby we'll be able to make more further revenue from the solid metal space, from a commodities ecosystem. And for us to do that, we have to put in place what we call the structure, which I'll repeat. The structure. LCF is a structured exchange that's bringing standardization into the ecosystem and bringing regulations into that space. When we have structure there, it makes it easy. If you had been at the venue last week, you'll have seen that all the stakeholders that can make any ecosystem work, that is the commodity ecosystem work, were there. The collateral managers were there, represented. The depositories were there, represented. The banks were there, represented fully there. The trustees were there, represented. The custodians were there, represented. All of them came to show their face to say that, yes, we are supporting this commodities ecosystem and we have a structure to back it up, to the extent that we'll be able to create what we call the fungible instruments, the risk instruments that investment bankers can participate in. And when you do that, it makes it easy for capital raising. And when you do capital raising in any ecosystem, that means it's wealth creation. And when you do that, you'll be generating revenue. And it will also be supporting the federal government's RT 200, whereby you can start generating things for exports and to be generating forex for the country.
Very important. I like the fact that you said the ecosystem, and I want to ask around other stakeholders, because this is historical in terms of a gold exchange and also other commodities being traded. We already have the Nigeria Commodities Exchange in Abuja. We have the AFEX exchange, the private exchange in the agri-commodity space. I want to ask around the synergy and, of course, working with the regulators, like how you're going to strengthen that whole ecosystem, because it's very important, that synergy, considering the fact that now the commodities exchange, commodities ecosystem provides that big impetus to really drive Nigeria's economy?
Nigeria is a very, very big economy, and it is a fact that we are the giants of Africa. And if you're the giants of Africa, if you look into Nigeria, we're blessed from coastal lands to crude oil, to arable lands, to solid metals, to precious metals, to so many things. So from the Securities and Exchange Commission's 10-year master plan, which has been reviewed again by the new administration at SEC, the whole idea was, let's build up this commodities ecosystem. Because when we have a thriving commodities ecosystem, it means that you are generating raw materials that can feed into the manufacturing sector. And then when you have a thriving manufacturing sector, then you have a thriving service sector. So the commission, in its own wisdom, has licensed about 3 or 4 different commodities exchanges. Everybody's niching their markets. And but what we're doing in the spirit of growing the ecosystem is called co-opetition. And co-opetition means that we are cooperating together in a competing environment. And then we have different skill sets that we are bringing to play. We have a lot of investment banking skill sets that we're bringing to the forefront to create structured instruments and to be able to de-risk instruments ecosystem and to be able to create access so that finance can come into that ecosystem. Well, and then we have some other colleagues of ours that have core strength in maybe agriculture. Agriculture is supposed to sustain about almost 60% or more or so of our economy. It's a major employer of labor. And so what we've done is we have 4 asset classes. Like I've mentioned in the past, we have the agri commodities, we have the solid metals, we have the crude oil and gas, and we have the currency. So for our other colleagues, as we're building the ecosystem, some have a lot of strengths, like for example, that you mentioned, NCX has a lot of federal government support, and the federal government has a lot of silos all over Nigeria. They have a lot of warehouses. It means that by way of infrastructure too, they'll be able to deploy a lot of that into the ecosystem. And then some of our other colleagues also are niching into agriculture and all that. All of us at the end of the day, we're just trying to build a bigger ecosystem that is interconnected with each other. And the interrelations are very, very important because it's going to be very difficult for you to generate anything from any of those sectors, agri sector, solid minerals, without capital. Because capital is what is going to activate those ecosystems and create offtakes there to make sure that the people that are in the primary production part of it can always go back into their production, whether mining, whether agriculture or whatever. And then we are doing the same thing too. We are foraged into crude oil, we are foraged into solid metals, and we have done a lot also in agriculture. But for agriculture now inside, what we want to do is to make sure that we're able to stabilize the issue that has been plaguing Nigeria in the last 50 years. That's the post-harvest losses there, to be able to address the issue of the cold chain space, which has to do with the preservation and to prevent post-harvest losses. When you have that in place, you will have de-risked that agri sector a lot. So that people that are investing in it will realize that if you're investing in those agri-perishable goods, you are not going to have problems with post-harvest losses. Those are some of the things loopholes that we need to block. It's taking us almost 5 years deploying all those various infrastructures in place to be able to go into it. It's totally different from buying commodities and selling commodities. We're not here to do that. We have to deploy infrastructure to support the structured commodities ecosystem.
Yes, very, very important. And Mr. Akinsola, the entire market analysts have shown interest and are happy about this development, even those in diaspora. And they asked me to ask you this. In terms of the challenge of insecurity in the country, how is this impacting the whole ecosystem, and how are you planning to navigate this? Because investors are really showing that passion for the commodities market, but this is one of the major social challenges we're facing at the moment.
You know that there's risk and there's returns.
Yes.
Yeah, there's risk and there's returns. Yeah, and then the issue of insecurity is a peculiar situation that we're facing in Nigeria, and then we're going to go through it, and then we'll stabilize on it. And then insecurity is also happening in the global space, in some other parts of the world, but specifically for different asset classes. I'll start from the solid minerals like gold, for example.
Yeah.
The only reason why we brought physical gold to the exchange for people to see is because we know that a lot of Nigerians have not seen real bullion that's from Nigeria before,
Yeah.
produced from Nigeria's gold, for them to see and for them to believe that it actually exists. And that's why Mr. Governor of Lagos, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, had to show the whole world that this is gold, eco gold coins from Nigeria and all that. But immediately after that, we have what we call the safekeeping receipts that are issued on them, which have been issued already. Those, if you notice last week, when the gold came in, there were about 3 people that were handling the gold, because there's a process for handling gold. Yeah. And immediately after they had showed people the gold, 10 minutes later, it was back to vaulting. Even the exchange is not allowed to know the address to which the locations of the vaults are for vaulting. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you generate your instruments and you can keep your instrument. But if you decide that you want to take the physical, that you want to go and collect your gold, the physical gold, you will be able to go and collect it. For now, one of the few banks that have been registered to do that for us as a settlement bank, and also as an institution that can issue what we call the safekeeping receipt is Sterling Bank. Is one of them. Then we also have our first registered gold settlement bank, Heritage Bank. Wow. Heritage Bank they have 2 vaults, one in Lagos and one in Abuja. I don't know the locations because for security reasons, those things are not there. So to de-risk that ecosystem, for people to realize that their assets are secured, they are vaulted in various locations, and those vaults are built to specification, and they have capacity to issue what we call the SKR. And now the issue of in the agri space too, that has to do with insecurity and production. Yes, we will have, but there are certain crops also that are there, like shea nuts that are annual crops, production, cashew. The major ones that have been affected a little bit are things like paddy rice, maize, that are the basic crops and all that. But we Nigerians were still getting by, and with the support of what the central bank is doing to support the outdoor schemes and all that, production is still going on very well, and we're still, though we are not yet meeting up with the actual demands of wheat, maize for Nigeria. It's a gradual process. By the time the commodity exchanges rev up more, and we start pursuing all these commodities in a structured approach, you will discover that the risks will be reduced. And when you increase the volume also, in particular locations that you have the concentration in particular locations that are relatively safe, you make up for the locations that are not relatively safe, till we have full stable security in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's the positive amidst all the challenges, and that's how it should be. Now, in our previous interviews, you've explained the basic characteristics of a commodities exchange. Now, to what extent have these been met with this launch? Prior to inauguration, and I would like to also ask, in addition, again, requests from analysts and various stakeholders across the market, even those in diaspora. For your brokers, of course, we've published on ProShare the various brokers that you've trained or registered. Last time was about 102. Are they more of equities? Because some of them, are they liquidities, or is it strictly commodities brokers that you have trading on the exchange?
Thank you very much. The first thing I'll speak about is the regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission. The regulator is always continuously improving the ecosystem. And then what we're trying to do is what we call interoperationality of things, and then shared services. And in the last few years, some policies have been put up that's called the minimum operating standard, MOS. The minimum operating standard, what it does is make sure that if you're operating as a dealing member firm in the ecosystem, there's a minimum technology that you're supposed to have, minimum governance structure that you're supposed to have, minimum capital that you're supposed to have, minimum personnel that you're supposed to have, and so many other things under the minimum operating standards and requirements and compliance issues they're supposed to do. Apart from that, you now have the issue of capacity and the personnel. That is the capacity of personnel to be able to trade equities, or to trade fixed income, or to trade commodity contracts as we're doing now. What we've done is that we've done quite a bit of training to make sure that the existing capacity of qualified stockbrokers and daily member firms can be easily trained to start trading commodities. It's just another asset class that is a financial instrument. And in conjunction with the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, we have conducted quite a bit of training programs for them, certification for them. So we have commodity brokers now, qualified commodity brokers that are trading on the commodities daily member firms now. And they have the capacity. And what we've also done is that the trade matching engine, which is where they do the trades, like the ones that were done last week, have been put in such a way that the differential in the execution of trades is very minimal, so that it's easier to train them, for them to use those new systems and technology. And that has been done. We've done about 4 series of those trainings to make sure that they can adapt to it. And I can tell you that we have a minimum of about 100 stockbrokers. Those are the individuals that can use the systems, both remotely and physical, and about 40 daily member firms. Those are the houses that can trade on the exchange.
Last week, like you said, was very historic in this launch. And now we just want to know, as we wrap up, what the exchange is bringing to the table as it has to do with improving commodities and, of course, economic opportunities. The governor, like you said, talked about the gold exchange, gold coin, and of course, the volume is interesting. You also talked about an energies exchange. I think that's one other interesting area, because the fact that we'll be trading in crude is something that we need to really leverage on. Some innovation that is required that should attract a lot of investors. So in terms of what you're bringing to the table and the kind of investors you're going to bring on board, because again, Nigeria is yearning to have a massive investor market where we have over at least 10, 15 million investors, retail investors captured out of a population of 200 million. If you can get to that at least for a start, because currently 2 million is just too abysmal in terms of participation.
Yes, you see, the first thing is that the biggest headwind I've had, or we've had, has been the issue of the paradigm shift. We have almost believed that there are so many things that's impossible for us to do in Nigeria, that even the elites, the very, very knowledgeable people, feel that those things are not possible. And that's why it was a big shocker for people last week when they saw real gold in Nigeria, gold coins that belonged to Nigeria. The same thing is going to happen to the crude oil, to the extent that I don't think it's ever crossed our mind that we should participate in it. And then people are trading crude all over the world, including our crude all over the world. And what we're just trying to do is let's start and make sure that some of this, even if it's just 400,000 barrels per day, is traded locally. And there's no big deal to the processes on putting structures in place to be able to do the same trades locally here. We're going through it. One of the few challenges that we've had anyway is that Nigeria is a blessed country. We have so many varieties of crude in Nigeria. So it means that we are going to be doing approval for so many specifications of crude for it to be tradable in Nigeria. But it's a process, and Nigeria should benefit. The second part of it is 80% or 85% of countries that produce crude all over the world have their own energy exchange. That is, they have a crude oil exchange to trade their crude. Nigeria is one of the few countries left in the world that produces crude, and we're one of the major producers, and we don't trade it in this country. So it's going to be a welcome development. We're going to be doing that, and we're going to be launching that before the last quarter. By the last quarter, we'll have started putting that in place. And the current bill and implementation of bill has cleared the way for us to be able to participate very well. When I mean participate, to create space for investors to participate in Nigeria into that particular process. And then also you can see that we now have NNPC Limited. It's going to make it easier for some decision making to be done for NNPC. and for us to be able to have conversations with any institution that's producing crude in Nigeria. And for crude production, you have indigenous crude oil producers. So it's not about NNPC alone. And then one day very soon you discover that very soon, we will surprise you very soon. The work is almost done. You will see people will trade Nigeria's crude on our exchange. And then we're niching our market also to make sure that Nigerians can participate, invest in that particular space. The key thing is for us to know that as a country, we have capacity, we have the assets, we have the commodities, and it's just for us to fold our shirts, make the decisions that we want to go ahead and do these things and make sure that it's possible in Nigeria. And that's why we have done a proof of concept for people to see that it's possible in gold. It's possible in gold, it's possible in lithium, it's possible in crude oil. The people that do crude oil trades all over the world don't have two heads. Yeah. In fact, we have more Nigerians that are brilliant that can participate and are doing crude oil sales outside Nigeria. So we are bringing it close to Nigeria, for us to have investors in Nigeria. And then you'll also look at the issue of investor appetite in Nigeria. There's a very, very high investor appetite in Nigeria that are looking for other asset classes to put funds into. And that's why Nigerians are now very, very prone to so many Ponzi schemes, so many schemes that are like investment outlets.
Yes.
Effectively, it's just that there's a vacuum out there. And that vacuum, by the law of nature, if it's not filled with something, something will occupy it. And that vacuum has to do with investment outlets, other asset classes. And those are the things that we are creating so that people can have other asset classes to be able to put money into: gold, crude oil, solid metals, and agriculture. That's what we're here for at Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. Our name is Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. The futures part of it is to tell you that after a while, when we must have concluded in sports trading, whereby people can understand sports and sports delivery, those instruments that are for sports delivery, people will start generating derivatives, instruments on those asset classes. We'll now start having the futures market growing. And we have started deploying infrastructure to support the derivatives market for the commodities ecosystem.
I want to just thank you very much, Mr. Akinsola, Akeredolu-Ale, for this opportunity to explain around this whole inauguration and the game changer in the Nigerian capital market, courtesy of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. It's quite interesting that we witnessed the gold spot contract series launch worth about £100 million. And we're looking forward to the energy exchange launch, which of course will improve participation and trading for those in the crude markets. And of course, I'm very happy that for local content, we saw gold mined in Nigeria, which means in Nigeria, there are a lot of possibilities if we believe and work together. Hopefully, with enabling regulations, LCFE and other stakeholders in the commodities market will drive the economy forward amidst the challenging times we are. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity, and we will have further engagements with you on developments in the LCFE as it concerns the commodities market. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Ottoabasi.
Yes. And to all our viewers, you've heard a lot about this launch of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. Quite a remarkable step to move our commodities ecosystem forward as a nation. And that'll be all for this edition of the Market Review Show. If you have questions, suggestions, or additional inputs on what you feel about this LCFE inauguration, the Commodities for Deepening Nigeria's Commodities Ecosystem, please send an email to Ottoabasi.Abasiekong@proshare.co. Also, you can log on to our website, www.proshare.co, to read our stories, particularly the one that captured the launch of this exchange and other stories around the LCFE and other stakeholders in the ecosystem. You can also engage us on our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Don't forget that you need to be informed to make the right investment decisions. Thank you for watching, and keep discussing the financial and capital markets because they create wealth and economic opportunities.